Dr. Lise Janelle, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hello, Elliot. I'm good. Nice to be with you. Nice to connect with inspiring people all the time.
It is amazing to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to diving into our conversation today. And before we do, can you give my listeners a little context about who you are and what it is that you do?
Yes, my background, I was a holistic chiropractor. And I became really interested in doing mind-body work. Why? Because I could have 10 people with similar low back condition. 8 of them would get better, and 2 of them, no matter what, it was not budging. So he sent me on a quest to learn about different methods, and I came along a method called an ET, neuro-emotional technique, and I started working with this, and I got amazing results. And then I realized I really love people living amazing lives. Why? Because when people are happy, they don't get sick as often, and if they get sick, they heal a lot faster. And from doing this, now I have coaching clients all around the world. And the method that I was using before, I needed to be face-to-face with the person because we were doing muscle testing. So I was stuck. I remember I was with this chiropractor in Madrid, and I'm going, he's got a subconscious belief. I know I need to get rid of it. So this is the mother of all inventions. So I ended up creating a method called the Heart Freedom Method. And through doing this method, people can find out where they're storing a belief that's stuck in their physiology, that's now holding them back, that's keeping them stuck. And it's cool because it's a really good technique, apparently, because I was demonstrating at one of the meetings I was there, and Jack Canfield, the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul, the Success Principle, and the movie The Secret, was there, and he loved it so much that he asked me to write a book about my method because he says it's the missing link he'd been looking for in 50 years of doing transformational work. So I love doing it. I'm certifying coaches in my method. I have clients. I have online programs. So what I love to do is I love empowering people to live the best life possible. And what's interesting is yesterday I'm doing a peer review study, and we were looking at the results of the people who've worked with me. And what people get from working and doing this kind of work is they get a sense that they can have more control over their life, that life is not happening to them, it's happening for them. And they're able to use what's happening to their advantage. So that's what I love doing, giving hope and confidence and joy and happiness to people, because if you become clear on what you want to create in life, and then you get rid of the subconscious belief working against you, you become unstoppable. It's fun.
I think fun is an understatement. It sounds absolutely incredible. And I'm curious, 50 years of a missing link and then discovering that in the Heart Freedom Method, that has piqued my curiosity. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is and how it facilitates such transformation?
So I'll give you a story. Stories are always interesting. So I had a client come to see me. She's an Olympic level skier, and she had not placed in 2 years. So she's a Canadian Olympic skier, which means it's all about glory, no money. So if you say that you want to represent Canada, you're doing it because, you want to do good, but not for the money. And so she comes to see me, and I test her. So I have a way of testing people to see if subconsciously they are congruent with what they say they want. Because we don't know this, most people don't know, but 90 to 95% of what you do is actually pre-programmed in your subconscious mind. So you think you're running the show, but when your subconscious mind is in charge of keeping you alive. It's not the enemy. But when your subconscious mind thinks that you're going to have more pain than pleasure, more danger than safety, it's going to hold you back. It's going to prevent you from doing what you consciously want. Because relatively speaking, your conscious mind that wants something is the size of a football, and your subconscious mind, the football field. So see the difference? So when I tested her on I want to win, lo and behold, she didn't want to win. Why? And this is what is really cool. You don't need 10,000 hours of therapy. You do this mind-body work, you find the moment you created the belief. And for her, it went back to when she was 7 years old. She was already winning, but her brothers were not. So her mom was hiding her medals and her trophies not to make her brothers feel poorly. So now, as an adult, you know about Pavlov's dog? Bring food to the dog salivates, you ring a bell, and after a while you don't need to bring food, you just ring the bell, and the dog salivates. You have a physiological reaction. So for her, striving to win against her competitor, even against her teammates, was like winning against her siblings. So she was subconsciously, it was not good for her because she was going to make people feel poorly if she was winning. So imagine, like an Olympic level skier, obviously, a Canadian Olympic skier, they're sacrificing everything. Their time, their social life, their love life, their financial life, for one goal. So consciously, you may want to be fit. You may want to have a love life. You may want to be successful in your career. You consciously know without a shadow of a doubt, this is what you want. But if subconsciously you got a story like she did, you won't place. So anyway, we had 2 sessions. And after that, she ended up on the podium. And then she says, I have an interview actually on my website with her. And she says, and all of a sudden, I got a lot of luck here. She ended up retiring a few years later, ranking 3rd in the world in her discipline. So that's the power of your subconscious mind. That's why I love using her as an example, because people tell me, for sure I know I'm worthy of love. For sure I want to be successful. For sure I want a great life. But most people are not congruent with that. For sure I love who I am. Really? I can tell you from working with thousands of people one-on-one that all of us have stories that prevent us from achieving our full potential.
And why is it that that subconscious belief of beating her brothers and them not feeling good, why was that so much stronger than her desire to win? Because sometimes I get those subconscious beliefs because a lot of people maybe, for example, it's a weight loss situation. They maybe grew up in a situation where they experienced abuse. So now their weight is to protect them, for example. And I see that incredibly advantageous. But in this situation, obviously, I'm sure she cares for her siblings, but it doesn't seem like it would outweigh the desire to win. So why was that such a strong force that was pulling her back compared to maybe something that, I mean, obviously it's subjective. Naturally, it's going to be individual down to her and her situation, but something comparatively so strong compared to something not quite as strong, at least from the rational perspective, but maybe that's part of the answer.
Yeah, that's the difference. It's not rational, it's emotional. Why? Because you can be 20, 30, 40, 60, 80 years old, and whatever age the belief got stored, this is where you go back to subconsciously. So at 7 years old, making sure your mom likes you is super important. Making sure your brothers don't beat you up when mom is not there, that's important too.
It's all about survival.
That's why the subconscious mind is there. The subconscious mind is there to keep you alive. So that's why it's not the enemy, but it could be because of what you have associated subconsciously with it. Like I was in Chicago and I was giving a conference to 350 coaches from all over North America and some from Europe. So coaches should also be about, success. So I talked about this and I said, if you want, after my talk, I can test you on I'm ready, willing, and able to be successful. And I had at least 100 coaches lined up. And guess what? Out of 100, I only had one that was congruent with wanting to be successful. Most people associate winning, being successful, with people disliking them, with people being jealous of them, with being abandoned, with making people feel poorly, with making people feel it's not fair that they have it all. Like most of us create stories that hold us back. And you could be making $1 million a year, but in reality you're meant to make 10 because 1 million is acceptable in your subconscious mind, but 10 is not. So we all have plateaus where we get stuck with those stories. And that's why I love doing it, because every time I sit there with one of my clients, like, all right, what is the story we're going to discover today? What is going to happen? I love doing this work. I don't ever want to retire. I'm probably going to slow down and not do it as much. I'm going to specialize. That's my goal right now, is to specialize with working with top level athletes and, top level business people, entrepreneurs, people who are driven, because I want to work with people who are driven. And then after that, my coaches can coach my other clients, and I have online programs. But there is nothing more fun for me. I can see myself retiring, maybe when I'm 100. I don't want to do it anymore. But it's fun. It's so fascinating to see. I feel like a mom with my clients. It's like I watch my clients, and it's not like you have to be lucky and hope it's going to work. It's like if you go to the gym, do you have to cross your fingers and, oh my goodness, I hope I get stronger? No, you go to the gym, you're going to get stronger. You do this kind of work, I guarantee you're going to accelerate your results. It's because really what you need a powerful intention. You need to be connected with your values. You need to know who you are, why you're here, and what you're going to be doing. And once you become locked in with this in your heart, not in your head, not in your guts, which is your emotions, but in your heart. Because when you're connected in your heart, it gives you a why. It's important to have a why, because once you hit the challenges that happen to everybody, if you don't have a big enough why, you just crumble. So if you have a powerful intention, and then you are aware that everything that happens for you, not to you, for you, but not to you, then you can start to decipher. When something feels fun, you go, all right, how am I going to use this to my advantage? Because this is dangerous. When it's nice and comfy, maybe I should stay there. Well, actually, it's like eating a whole chocolate cake. Yeah, it's nice, but if you eat a whole chocolate cake, what's going to happen to you? So you need to know where you're going to decide, yeah, maybe I'll have a piece of chocolate cake. I'm not going to have the whole cake. That's why it's important to have an intention. And when you face a challenge, you ask yourself, how am I going to use this to my advantage? The only reason why you hit a challenge is, there are two reasons why you hit a challenge. One, you need to master something, because otherwise it wouldn't be a challenge. If you had mastered it already, it wouldn't be a challenge. Ta-da! The second thing is, when you have a challenge, often it's guiding you to go somewhere that you either knew you need to quit this job. It's sucking the life out of you, and then all of a sudden something happened, you get sick, and then all of a sudden you have to give up on your job, and then that's why it happened. Not because I'm being punished, but because I need to stop doing this job that's killing me. And then sometimes, though, you have no idea why it's happening. But if you come from the place that everything is happening for me, and you stay in the question, and you start to see, how am I going to use this to get where I want to go with my intention? Life becomes a game. I love this game. I call that the ultimate game of life. It's when you start to consciously create a life that's based on your heart. It's based on your heart, and then you're aware that you have subconscious beliefs that can get in the way. Now you get rid of them. You don't get stuck all the time just repeating the same old patterns over and over again, which is what happens when you have conditioned response. You just get stuck in a loop. So that's why I love the Heart Freedom Method, which is the tool I created that Jack likes, because you can accelerate your growth so quickly and make things happen, and life becomes so rich. It's It's really fun.
I can imagine. And I'm curious now, you've obviously mentioned things like having values, having a vision, and all those types of things. But I want to take a step back. I imagine the first step of removing a subconscious belief, because obviously if you remove that subconscious belief, it's like removing, some form of poison or something like that, or anything along those lines, to give a metaphor for the subconscious belief. Because if once you have just the blank canvas and you have nothing holding you back, then obviously the potential is limitless, essentially. But we have to get rid of it first. So I imagine awareness is the first step, because I know from my own personal experience, and I'm sure many, many people, they don't realize they have so many of these subconscious beliefs, hence 99 coaches out of 100 not really being aligned to being successful. So how do we go about unraveling the subconscious belief that's holding us back? Like I said, awareness must be the first step, but then what do we do thereafter to get rid of it, especially when it's been so strong and such a force within us for maybe decades of our lives?
Yeah, well, there are 3 clues you have a subconscious belief working against you. The first one is you know what needs to be done, but you're not doing it. You know you got a report to write, but all of a sudden, I need to clean the windows, go for a workout, call up my friends, go on social media, do anything but that thing you should be doing. Like if I picked up the phone right now and called this potential client, it could change my whole life, but you're not doing it. Why? Because either you're afraid of succeeding, like all those coaches. Like coaches should be all about success, but subconsciously, you're afraid of being alone, because now you're going to be succeeding and you're going to leave everybody behind, or you're going to be alone, and that's a scare. We are social beings. So procrastination is clue number 1. So awareness of, look at me. I know where I want to go. I know my values. But look, I'm not doing it. So that's the first clue. Another time where you're going to realize that you have a subconscious belief working against you is you're going to do it, but you feel the inner resistance. Like you're driven, you're capable, you're ambitious, but oh my goodness, it takes me so long to get going. Like I have this assignment, and instead of taking me an hour, it's taking me 3 hours. Why? So it's like you have to romance yourself, All of a sudden you have to make the music, and you have to have your coffee, and you have to do your meditation. Like everything's taken because you feel this mysterious inner resistance inside of you. The third clue, and this one is the worst for driven people. You've read the books, you've done the programs, you spend thousands of dollars on all kinds of programs and all kinds of gurus, so you follow the recipe, but it's not giving you the results you want. It's just like my Olympic level skier. She knows what to do. But like she was saying, when subconsciously you don't want to win, you lean back on your skis a bit more. Now you've lost 1,000 of a second, and that's enough to make you lose, So self-awareness, but that's why it's so important to have a purpose like that. In my book, Conversation with the Heart, it's a really good book. I talk about all these things, but I talk about having a statement of purpose, because you need to have goals for yourself that come from your heart, because it's going to give you a bigger why. I'll tell you a story about a why, the importance of a why. I got tons of stories, but that's a pretty good one. In 2015, I climbed Kilimanjaro, and it's not that hard, really. It's the high altitude that's really hard until the last day. And the last day is hard because most of the time it's just saying, you're meandering, you're going up. Have you ever done Kilimanjaro?
No, I've not.
No. So anyway, gradually you go there, but the last day, Kilimanjaro is like a facade. It's like a wall.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of ominous. You go to bed, and when you're in a high altitude, your heart rate goes like you're lying down and your heart rate is 120. So it's kind of hard to fall asleep because you're kind of having a mini workout at the same time as you're trying to fall asleep. So you don't sleep so well. You wake up at 3 in the morning to start the climb, and it's dark and it's cold and it's windy, and this wall, this ominous black mass is overhanging you, and you start walking, and one of the guys in my group, he starts vomiting right away, and the guy told him, sorry buddy, but you're not gonna make it, go back to the tent. So now you can feel the tension in the group, and we're walking, and we're afraid of cerebral edema, pulmonary edema, but they tell us, the guides are trained, they will see if you have any of these symptoms. So you keep walking, and I was a competitive rower for 17 years. So I knew how much I had in the tank. So I'm looking, I have my summit, I'm clear in my mind, I'm setting my pace. And then at 11 o'clock in the morning, you get to this place that looks like the summit, but it's not the summit. It's called Gilsman's Point. When you get to Gizmo's Point, it stopped being like this, but you still have an hour and a half of going to the summit. So I'm standing there, and I read a lot of books about mountaineering because I love all these stories. And I'm going, I know that coming back down is harder than going up. So I'm going to have 3 hours plus going back down. And I'm standing there, and I'm not good with this altitude. Like I'm at 19,000 feet, and I'm walking in zigzags and standing there, I feel nauseous, and I'm going, man, I don't know if I want to do another 3 hours and then go down. Like, how am I going to do this? And I'm standing there and I'm going, why? And then I tell him, like, I'm not feeling good. I said, what's going to happen to me? Like, he says, don't worry, I'll take you down. He says, I've done this with a lot of clients, don't worry, I'm equipped, I'll take you down if anything happened. So I realized the benefit of having a coach, because at that moment, if it had not made me feel safe that I could get there, I probably would have gone back down. So that was the first thing I learned. But the second thing is, I said, but why should I do this? Like, it doesn't feel good right now. Like, you know, I'm walking like this and I'm looking down and it looks pretty low below. And he goes, just think about the shower and how good it will feel 2 days from now. And I'm going, yeah, I know about the victory shower, but 2 days from now. So I'm standing there in my foggy mind and I go, why am I going to do this? And then, I know. Because that way I'll be able to tell inspiring stories to my people. And that gave me the courage to go to the top and come back down. So when you, like for me doing this work, maybe you feel it, but it's not a good idea for me. For me, it's my passion. This is who I am. I'm here to help people live their full potential. And telling stories that are going to get people to go beyond their own limitation, it's like, that gives me courage. And if you look at the word courage, it has the French word cœur in it, French for heart. So if you want to live an amazing life, you need courage. You need to have a purpose. You need to know why you're here. So that when you hit the bumps in the road, you're willing to do the work to get to the summit. That's why I love climbing mountains, because you know where you're going. But most people, I have so many clients who come to see me and they feel, blasé, their life is not interesting, they feel hopeless, helpless, unhappy, they're looking for a partner to make them happy, and nobody can ever make them happy. That's because nobody will ever make you happy but you. You need to connect with your own heart. You need to know who you are. Because people say, I feel like nobody gets me. Well, that's because you're not getting yourself. So it is so very important for people to get who they are so they can start organizing their time. People need to organize their time according to their values. And I'm going to give you another visual. This is my visual for success. If you want to be successful, ta-da, this is what you need to do. This is the yin, which is the female principle of listening. This is the yang, which is the male principle of acting. So whether you're male, female, whatever you call yourself, you have those two things inside of you. So the yin, the heart part of yourself wants you to know two things. The first thing your heart wants you to know is you're worthy of love. And to get rid of any story to the illusion. And I can guarantee you, you yourself and everybody listening, unless you do your inner work, you have stories. Why? Because when we're little kids, as we're growing up, if the world reacts to us in a way we like, we feel, I'm great, I'm amazing. But when the world doesn't react to you the way you want it, you start creating stories about yourself. And it has nothing to do with you. So you accumulate stories. So the first thing your heart wants you to know is you're worthy of love, to do your inner work, the heart freedom method, to find the stories, get rid of them. The second thing your heart wants you to know, it wants you to admit your dreams and aspirations. And then it's about organizing your time to give your heart what it wants. It's like if you decide you want to be fit, you're going to be different than if you don't have that goal. If you say, okay, I want to live a vibrant life for a very long time. Well, you need to eat well, exercise, have love in your heart, have passions, be an inspiring person. Those people live a lot longer, a lot healthier than people who are just waiting there for somebody to make their life better, which never happens. It never sticks.
Yeah, and I'm still curious. You said get rid of those stories. What exactly does that process look like? How do we kick them out of our mind when we created them at such a young age?
Yeah, it's the heart freedom method. So that's the method that I teach. I have an online program called Get Unstuck with Dr. Lise. And you can learn how to do this, but it's not hard. Like I have one of my coaches, her daughter, Rosemary, she's 4 years old. And she's learned how to do it herself. Like she was telling her mom how, oh mom, I was in the car and I had car sickness and I did the heart freedom on myself and I found out why, just like, my skier story. So it's 10 steps. It's 10 easy steps. You just go through the process and you find the story, you get rid of the story. And every time you do the heart freedom method, you actually increase your self-worth. Because you realize that everything that's ever happened is happening for you, not to you. And it's transformative, it's inspiring, it gives you hope, it gives you joy. That's why I love doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I'm not expecting you to tell us all 10 steps, but can you share maybe a couple of those which are key to this process?
If I started, you're just going to go, it doesn't, like, you have to go through the whole process to get the benefits of it. And I have a webinar if people are interested. I'm going to have a webinar, and if people want to download the link we're going to have below, they can have access to the webinar. It's called Get Unstuck, and I guide the people who come on the call, and they learn how to do it for themselves on the call. So that's something that could be interesting for people.
Okay, so people go through those 10 steps, and is that the key? I imagine that there's probably some maintenance to do thereafter. I find that a lot of people, they find themselves getting unstuck. They work their way to a certain point in their lives or their careers or their goals or whatever it might be. And then sometimes they find themselves falling back. They find themselves engaging in behaviors that they thought they weren't going to engage in anymore. They find themselves with not enough strength to just get past that peak, even when they have done the work and they've felt themselves on a path. I see this within the health and fitness world all the time. A lot of people will drop the weight that they're after, and then, 5 years down the line, they find that they put it back on again. So is it as simple as following those 10 steps and it's kind of got you in place for the future as you know it, or is there some maintenance, some work to do to not fall back?
It's like, do you stop exercising?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. So that's why I gave you the 3 clues. So you know where you want to go. Basically your purpose in life is to bring the best out of yourself. But you need to spend, I have a whole weekend seminar, it's called Extreme Freedom Weekend, and it's amazing. You spend 2 days discovering about yourself, and I teach you another tool where you learn how to transform challenges into opportunities. But basically what you do is you become clear on your purpose, and as you move into life, then you go, I'm procrastinating, or it's taking me too much time, or I'm getting the opposite results. Like you said, like somebody goes back into, destructive habits. You go, look at me. Why am I doing this? And then you do the heart freedom method. That's why I find from working with thousands of people, there are 2 stages to human development. There's the unconscious, asleep, infantile stage. We all get through that one, stage 1, call it the boot camp also. And then we have stage 2, where you're consciously creating your life, and I call that creating heaven on earth. This is when you win the lottery, when you are in stage 2. A lot of people come to see me when they're ready to go there, either because they lost their job, they lost their health, they lost their spouse, or they just feel like, my goodness, what I'm doing is not working. So now they're being challenged, and they go, there's got to be something else. Or someone listens to a podcast like yours, and they go, you know what? I'm going to use inspiration instead of waiting for the baseball bat. I highly recommend inspiration versus the baseball bat. Get going, because I can guarantee you there's an amazing life waiting for you. So what happens is that in stage 1, like I said, it's the divine cosmic joke that's played on us. Because as soon as you are born, love has to come from the outside. Otherwise you die. So you learn to manipulate the outside world to take care of you. And when the outside world doesn't react to you the way you want them, it's scary. Like for a baby, for us as adults, because we know we love them, we're not going to abandon them. But that's not the reality of a baby. The baby doesn't know if they cry. Like a very common story I find with people having a hard time, living a great life, is that first they don't feel worthy of love. Why? Because often, especially in my time, when we were born, they would take you away from mom, put you in the nursery. And you would cry and cry and cry for mommy. Cry, 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 and nobody's coming. So, what's wrong with me? My mom has abandoned me. You don't know that. You're a baby. Like, where's my mom? Nobody's coming. It's like, okay, so now you created a story already. I'm unworthy. I'm not lovable. Because if I was lovable, somebody would come to me right now. And then you try again. You cry, 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 cry. And it hurts so much that I'm going to stop asking for what I want. So the 2 things, remember the 2 things you need to do to be happy in life? First, you need to know you're worthy of love. The second one is you need to admit your dreams and aspiration. Already you created a story right from the get-go. So now you disconnect from your heart. And that's when we experience unhappiness. Because I believe, and this is the basis of my work, is that our essence, each and every one of us, is love. And you will see the moments in your life where you feel the happiest is when you're connected in your heart. When you connect there, people feel safe, they feel beautiful, abundant, grateful, and it's a beautiful place to be. And each and every one of us has access to that. Each and everyone can do this. Like I have a 5-minute meditation that I do. It's called the Heart Freedom Meditation. You can go heartfreedommeditation.com. It takes 5 minutes, and I reconnect people with their heart. And it's like, nothing has changed. You're still in the same chair, in the same room, still the same date. But all of a sudden, because you got into gratitude, you feel like nothing is missing. Like the Buddhist principle of non-attachment, of not having any desires. Having a desire of having no desire is a desire. So that's why. When you're in your heart, you don't feel like anything is missing, so you don't have a desire. That my belief, that's my theory, and it makes sense, is that is why we have to forget our essence. Because if we knew who we are and remember who we are, we would be like little Buddhas under the Buddha tree. We have no desire. You feel nothing is missing when you're connected in your heart. So we have to disconnect from our heart through these stories, often at birth, and then something else like mom has the audacity to have another baby. What's wrong with me? Now she's cranky, she has no time, then you go to school, and then your best friend is your best friend, but another day there's a kid with a better toy, so now they don't want to play with you. What's wrong with me? Now you start associating, oh, toys equals friends. I'm gonna do everything I can for have lots of toys, lots of cars, lots of houses, whatever, you know? So we end up being driven by these outside factors, and they are necessary. I call that the boot camp. And I created another metaphor. It's like I divided this in 3 different boot camps. Some people were born into a musical boot camp, meaning life was easy for them. Like they grew up in a family where it was not too challenging. But the problem with that is they're not driven. Like yesterday, one of my clients, that's what we discovered, and he went, I realized my problem growing up was I didn't have anything to fuel me, to guide me, to try to make me react, which is what got him in trouble. So people were born in a musical boot camp, life was easy, but then they're not equipped for real life. Then we have the people who are born in what I call the athletic boot camp. And in the athletic boot camp, you know, you win, you lose, you learn to be tougher. You still have the possibility of creating stories, but usually you're able to withstand more challenges. And then there are the people who are born into the Navy SEAL boot camp. And like, if you read story about the Navy SEAL, you have to survive Hell Week where you don't sleep for a whole week, and like it's crazy. Some people actually die at that Navy SEAL boot camp. But if you manage to graduate from the Navy SEAL boot camp, you're a superhero. But you've had so many more opportunities of creating stories that something is wrong with you for having had these challenges. And they might not be conscious, but they're subconscious. But once you let go of these stories, then you get equal and opposite blessings. That's part of the conscious work that you need to do. So once you start leaving stage 1 for stage 2, you become conscious of who you are and why you're here. And then you start understanding why you had to go through that specific boot camp. Because if you remembered who you were, you'd be a Buddha under the Buddha tree, and you have no desire, you stay stuck. But because in stage 1, what we do is we run away from pain towards pleasure. So that's a beautiful driver for us. It drives us, it gets us moving. And once you start looking at everything that's happened to you as happening for you, now you increase your gratitude. When you increase your gratitude, you instantaneously increase your self-worth. And when you increase your self-worth, you increase your vitality, you increase your worth on the outside, all kinds of things start to happen. So the key when you're in stage 2 is to be really clear from your heart on your values and what you want to create. And then as you move forward, when you get challenged, you ask yourself, how am I going to use this to my advantage? When you get supported, you go, it's great, but I'm not going to stay stuck there. And you learn to use both sides to get you where you want. So it becomes a different game. You learn to let go of your subconscious belief because you go, I'm procrastinating, it's taking me longer, I'm getting the opposite results. And now, because every time these things happen subconsciously, you're actually getting an opportunity to let go of a story that has decreased your self-worth. Because the stuff that happens in stage one, as long as you have an emotion on it, it's decreasing your self-worth. So when you take the time to do the heart freedom method, you go, wow, that was pretty cool. And then your life starts changing. It's an amazing experience to start building your life from a conscious place as opposed to an unconscious place where you're asleep. And in stage one, the boot camp, you're constantly trying to manipulate the world to tell you you're great. And because people are busy with their own drama, it doesn't happen. Or very rarely. But when you engage in stage two, you're the one who goes to bed at night and you go, did I follow my heart today? Did I get the results I wanted? No, but did I follow my heart today? I can be proud of myself. So you go to bed with a different energy than when you're stuck in stage one, which is full of anxiety, despair, hopelessness, fear. It's not a fun place. So that's my message to people. It's like, you have the choice of leaving stage one, the boot camp, and start using everything that's ever happened to you in a conscious manner that's going to inspire yourself and then inspire other people as well.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff. And obviously, once we get to that stage, we probably start to think about, like you mentioned, the conscious life that we're going to start living. So what does it mean to you to just design our destiny?
What does it mean to me? Well, I've been living with a conscious design of my destiny since 1989. And it means fulfillment. It means gratitude. It means an amazing life. My life hasn't been easy. It's been support and challenges. It's been challenging, very challenging. But it's been beautiful because in 1989, I wrote down a mission statement for my life, like for all the different areas of life. And my career statement said that I was going to help to transform the life of 1 million people through maximizing their life potential. So since 1989, every day of my life, I've been focused on how I was going to make that happen in my career. And I don't think it's a coincidence that I ended up attracting Jack Canfield. Okay, I got a real kick out of this. Have you seen the movie The Secret, or read the movie The Secret?
I have indeed, yeah.
Okay, so I'm part of the group. I was there. I could have been in the movie. So I got to be on stage a few years ago and teach those people the true law of attraction. So here you go. The true law of attraction is if you challenge yourself to follow your heart, you attract support. If you stay in your comfort zone and hope for someone to make you happy, you attract challenges. Nobody has more pleasure than pain, more pain than pleasure. Everybody has both sides. The only difference is the form you can have it under. So if you consciously create your life, you're going to have to be uncomfortable. I had to learn to do all kinds of things that I would have never done. Like deep down, I'm shy. I'm an introvert. I like thinking and feeling and meditating and connecting to my higher self. But because I loving means this. Because I love doing this work, I'm willing to challenge myself to give others the thing that gives me passion in my heart. So if you want to live an amazing life, become really clear on who you are and why you're here, and then get going. Find the tools. Like the tools I can recommend to you, and I know they work because I've done my own study that can prove to you people do this work. It's like people go to the gym. It's not luck. It's not because you cross your fingers, hope you were born under a lucky star. No, if you do the work, you can have it all. You can have super happiness by first connecting with your heart, and your heart wants you to know two things. First, you're worthy of love, then admit your dreams and aspirations, and then get going. Because otherwise, it's like if you're speaking to me while you speak to me, I'm looking away. How would you feel? Probably feel like I don't care about you, and if you were in a long-term relationship, probably be depressed about it. Well, your heart is speaking to you all the time. What happens when you don't listen to what your heart wants for you? You feel depressed. But let's say you tell me, oh, I love Thai food. The next time we get together, I make a reservation at a Thai restaurant. You feel a little velour inside and go, oh, wow, she remembered. And more, she did something about it. So every time you pay attention to your heart and you do something for it, you increase your self-worth, you feel happiness. But most people confuse emotions with their heart, and that's another whole story where I could talk to you for hours about that, because people confuse their emotions like, oh, you meet this person is amazing, and like, oh, it's my soulmate, it's amazing. And then as high as you go into infatuation with this person, as low as you go into depression, because that's not love. Because just like you come with a set of pros and cons, and being in a relationship comes with a set of pros and cons. So the difference between an infatuation and your heart is when you connect in your heart and you decide, oh, this is what I want to do with my life, it feels quiet. It's not like, whoa, it's,
centered.
It's centered, you feel it, it's powerful, it's connected, it's not an energy that's all over the place. That's why it's beautiful, like that's why I love doing the Heart Freedom Method, because you get in touch with your body and you start to realize like you can know whether or not you're in line with your heart, just because if you scan your body, which is the first step when people do the Heart Freedom Method, like let's say I ask you to, what's one of your goals that you haven't been able to succeed at? So I ask you to feel this goal and scan your body. And if you have a subconscious belief, you're going to feel it somewhere. It's either going to be in your stomach, in your chest, in your hands, in your head. You're going to feel a sensation that wasn't there before when you think about this goal. So you start to be really aware of how you feel inside. And when it's your heart speaking, it's quiet, it feels more like a warmth, it feels like you're open, there's a whole conduit that's there, it feels clean, it feels open. It's a beautiful feeling to be in there.
Honestly, sounds like it as well. And Lise, this has been a really interesting and fascinating conversation. I want to wrap up with a final couple of questions. And the first one I have for you is, what impact do you want to have on the world with the work that you do?
Well, the impact is I want to transform the lives of people through reconnecting them with their heart. I've been doing this. I love doing it. It brings tears to my eyes every time I see my clients where they were and where they are now, and I see the sparkle in their eyes because they now know in their heart, not in their head, that they're worthy of having an amazing life.
And I have a feeling that you're going to be doing that until you're 100 years of age or even older.
Yeah.
And where's the best place for people to find you if they want to keep up with the work that you're doing or go to any of the resources that you mentioned earlier today?
I have two websites. One is called drlisejanelle.com. And then I have the heartfreedommethod.com. These two websites will lead you to me. Yeah, if you're interested in finding about the subconscious belief, check the Get Unstuck program, online program, where you can learn how to do the work. I also have the Extreme Freedom Weekend, where you learn to find out, your purpose in life. If you combine the conscious part of knowing who you are, plus doing the subconscious work, you combine those two things, you have a solid foundation. If you want to start slowly, you can get my book, Conversation with the Heart. And when the book comes out with Jack, it's going to be called Unstuck. And hopefully it will be out soon.
Amazing. Well, we'll look forward to that, and we'll put all the links in the show notes below. But Lise, thank you so much for your time today. I truly do appreciate it.
Thank you. It was fun. Thank you, Elliot.